Good evening. I'm glad to be here and represent Southern California Edison and your community. Basically, we care about your safety. We want you to look up and live and look at power lines, look at trees and power lines. It's dangerous. When our crews come through the neighborhood, they hand out a door hanger, says look up and live. Let customers know that we're in the neighborhood trimming trees away from the power lines. Why? A lot of people don't like the way Edison trims trees, so they'll eventually go out and hire their own tree crews who are not experienced to work around high voltage lines, and there's different rules and regulations throughout the state of California that requires anybody trimming trees near power lines has to be qualified. Anybody who's not qualified cannot get any closer than 10 feet from an energized conductor. High voltage power lines don't shock, they kill, maim, and I've seen too many of those. Never have a tree trimmer near a power line. Danger, danger. One of the biggest problems on the Edison system are palm trees. And I know people love palm trees, it's a California thing. When a palm tree gets up into the high voltage lines, there's only one way Edison can solve it to prevent future problems, and that's to kill it. We do go out and solicit removals at our cost. A lot of times we have a lot of throwback from the customer. No, it's, my grandmother planted it, my sister gave it to me. Palm tree grows from the top. It's a grass, it's called a monocot. And once it gets to a certain stage, once we top it, it's dead. It will not grow back. Southern California Edison is depicted here for our service territory, and approximately 13% of that is an extreme fire hazard area, of which Topanga Canyon is. Too much brush, too much overgrown vegetation. There's over 46,000 palm trees in our database. Every tree that's near a power line in the Southern California Edison territory is in a database that we track and maintain and inspect annually. And if you ever see a tree or tree limb or a palm frond laying on a power line, don't attempt to reach up and grab it and take it off. Call Edison. As you know, we have the Santa Ana winds. As you can see, this palm tree's moved over about 10 feet. During the dry winds, it also loses fronds that it can travel for great distances. And that's the result. Once a palm tree catches fire like that, it'll, especially in areas with shake roofs, when you don't have appropriate clearance around your home. Wood trees are dangerous too. The first picture on the left shows a tree trimmer that was topping a tree and it was a crane, and the crane lifted the tree up into a 66,000 volt line, and he was lucky he didn't get electrocuted. Tree falling on power lines starts a fire in the tree, and all the debris falls down into dry grass. Trees will start to lean over, and once the tree gets close enough to the conductor, it'll arc, and it'll sit like that for sometimes 2 or 3 days and drop burning material on the ground and start a fire. There's another tree that hadn't been trimmed in years, grew up right through the power lines. In a lot of cases like this, homeowners will go out and hire their own people to come out and trim the tree. And they'll touch that wire, and then we have to call a coroner out, and it's not a pretty sight. So we urge everybody, when Edison's in the neighborhood, let our crews do their job, and that way we're going to prevent fires in your community and save a lot of homes. Don't become a statistic, and that applies only to trimming the trees and being electrocuted, but also not letting us do their job and start a fire. We do have brochures that we hand out to the community, Right Tree, Right Place, which describes certain trees that can be planted under power lines that will never get as tall as the power line. All of our technical specialists are ISA certified arborists. Again, Edison goes out to clear the lines for safety. and we do the best we can to do it arboriculturally correct. But some of these trees are so old, and they want to grow 100 to 150 feet tall, and we have to make 30-foot stumps out of them. So we also try to go in and take out major offenders, and in some cases we'll actually donate trees to replace it with. We also have a few of the technical specialists that are utility specialists that deal mostly with trees and power lines. Mike Metcho is here with me from Edison. He's got this area.
All right, this seems to be Ryan's favorite thing or whatever, Oakland Hills. I see all these pictures all over the place, okay? All right, here it is, folks. The area is very similar. These little, small, winding, interconnecting streets, some places where the traffic, like for the firefighters are trying to come up the road and you're trying to evacuate down, everything gets log jammed. And I worked for PG&E up there at the time, and we were up there after the fire, was very familiar with it, and we saw the aftermath, and because we're dealing with replacing the power poles and restoration and everything else with the fire department, trying to making sure the houses are finally out of fire, you know. But you could see, here's the bottom line, there's cars sitting in the road that were burned up, and there was a lot of casualties too. So it just became a big log jam. Some people got out and just started running for it. A lot of them survived. Other ones sat in the traffic jam waiting for everything to clear, and they didn't make it by the time they made the decision to take off. So when your local people over here are actually, you know, your neighbors, and they're working hard, they're donating, volunteering their time to go ahead to try to take care of, alleviate some of the problems. Obviously, they learned a lot, you know, because this stuff's out there. It caught their attention. And they're donating their time, you know, along with, you know, Jay Lopez and, you know, the fire department and the other guest speakers that you have, that they spend a lot of time. We're all trying to help you guys out to make sure. But that one corridor, you only got one way in and out, one way out. But we're just looking at trees, not in the power lines, but up on the hill far away that could kind of lean over or something like that. So just want to let you know we're really proactive. And I really do appreciate it. We have all kinds of areas I actually cover up originally up from Santa Barbara all the way down to Santa Monica. But this is a unique place that you guys got, that the community sticks together. It looks like you're really interested in taking care of your problems over here and making sure you're safe. So from my standpoint, it's kind of unusual. I really appreciate it. You guys are good.
And just a little bit in closing, annually we participate in Arbor Day events. If your community has an Arbor Day, you might contact Mike a couple of months in advance, and we can donate some trees and hand out brochures and good information. Some pens made out of trees. That says SCE on it. And here's just a little display that we had set up. This was out in Ventura.
The trees that you give away, are they natives?
Native species, yes.
If we spot like a tall pine tree that's leaning towards the power lines, and certainly if it does topple, will hit the power lines, or if it gets burnt and weakened or branches burn and fall, who do we contact, and the phone number that we can use to contact you?
The quickest way is to, number one, call 911. Secondly, call the 800 number with Edison and put in a trouble order. But usually when a tree falls and actually takes down a power line, Edison has relay systems in our system that we know immediately when something's happened in a certain spot. So we'll start to dispatch crews out immediately to see what it could be.
Okay, but I'm talking about preventative measures.
If you see a tree that's leaning and is a concern to you, again, call the 800 number and put in what you call a trouble order. That'll be routed to Mike, and he'll come out and check it out.
You're proactive going out and looking at trees and power lines. Is that on main thoroughfares, or do you go all the way into neighborhoods and into individual houses?
Every neighborhood, every street in the community is patrolled for the high voltage power lines. Those are the two at the very top of the pole on a big board, which we call a crossarm. Those are the ones we're worried about. The wires from the pole to your house is just 122/40, and it's insulated, and it's made to go through trees, but if you ever see any strain or abrasion where it's actually pushing on it, we'll come out and clear that up.
Okay, so it's our responsibility as property owners to look at the lines that are coming from the pole to our houses, and if we have a concern, we call you.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.